let's take a look at our top selections for Dan Illman, Mike Beer, let's throw up the field for the feature race at Churchill Downs on Friday. Race number 10 is the $110,000 Kelly's Landing Stakes. We're going 7/8 of a mile, and this is the return of last year's Bluegrass winner. The number 9, Mike, Art Collector, makes his 4-year-old debut, turning back to a sprint, and I don't think turning back's going to bother him in the slightest.
I don't either. I actually liked him more going shorter last year. I was more surprised that he stretched out effectively than anything else, Dan, but he did obviously stretch out effectively. Probably the right kind of spot to bring him back in. We'll see how tight he is. He probably has to be pretty close to 100% to beat this field.
He is indeed, because he hasn't run in about 6 months or so, and he's facing some solid horses, including the horse expected to make the lead on our Timeform US pace projector. That's Strike Power, and Strike Power is an honest horse, maybe not the most trustworthy sort, but when he gets a situation like Timeform US is projecting, he has run some big races in the past, most notably that triple-digit Fig 3 back at Oaklawn.
Yeah, he does. He is a horse who likes to get out there and be in control of the pace. We'll see if he can do it in this spot, Dan. It'll be interesting to see where the number 6 Bengo is, because he didn't show any speed last time at Churchill Downs, but prior to that, he was getting forward in his races. And that includes a race at Churchill last November where he basically dueled Strike Power around the track, put that horse away and won.
Mucho, the number 1, has probably not lived up to expectations. He was grade 1 placed at this distance as a 2-year-old in the Hopeful, and he just didn't pan out. He was claimed last fall at Churchill Downs, got a win immediately, and since then has been banging around the graded stakes ranks and stakes ranks without much success. But I'm interested in your take on his last race, Mike, and let's watch Strike Power win the Maryland Sprint, because Mucho's also in that race. Strike Power's on the lead, and he's going to finish a good second. You're going to see Mucho in the back of the pack in that blue hat. Just have to wait a little bit, and now he's going to try to come closing. There wasn't a ton of closing going on in this race. Mucho also didn't break well in this sort of spot, sort of bumped at the start and pinched. I think he ran deceptively well.
He runs pretty well in this race. I don't know, Dan. As the race was going on, I was very interested to see what he would do, because I did feel like there was going to come a point in the stretch where I was going to say, he was compromised and he ran really well. And then by the time they got to the finish, I was like, I didn't really see enough trouble to make me want to go back to this horse. I thought all in all, Jose Ortiz worked something out there. He was clear. He did his best with that trip. He never really threatened at all at the end. I don't know. He's a horse that I was pretty high on early. He lost me a long time ago, and he hasn't won me back.
Strike Power, we saw finish a good second behind Special Reserve, who's just one of those maker claims that has really gotten good. My concern about Strike Power is this, and it's not that he's an inconsistent horse, because his speed's going to take this field likely to the top of the stretch. I'm worried about 7. I'm not sure he's going to be at his best going 7/8 if he takes some heat.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm worried. I'd be worried about the distance as well. And I'd just be worried that maybe Bengo will find his speed again and go with this horse early. And if he does, that's not going to help Strike Power's chances at all. He can win this race. I'm just not a big fan of his, Dan. And I would want way more than 4-1 if I was going to bet him.
Now, conversely, I like the 3 Bourbon Call and cutting back in distance. Last time out, they took a shot. It was his final start of the year. They ran him in the Clark. He's 60-1. And listen, just throw that race out. He's not going to beat those kind of horses. His prior start at 1 mile and a 16th was pretty good behind a sharp horse and Crafty Daddy. But I like him at 1 turn. And if there is some pace, he's going to come running late.
I like all those things too. And I think it really is sort of all about the setup for him in here. We'll see if they go fast enough to give him a chance. I do think he probably needs some help to beat this field, and he's going to need help in the form of a contested pace in front of him.
Long Range Toddy has only raced once previously at 7 furlongs. That was a 2-year-old. He was a stakes winner that day in the Clever Trevor at Remington Park. Maybe coming back to 6 last time was a little sharp for him. He ran well at the end of that race, very well to just be beaten by Bango. And perhaps he's just coming back into form after taking on some tough competition 2, 3, and 4 back.
Yeah, I think he's a little bit of a wild card in here. He did run pretty well last time. Got bumped from both sides at the start of that race, had to steady back, and was outrun, just trailing that field all the way around to the top of the stretch. He put in a pretty good run. Now, Bango also closed in that race to win, but this horse made up some ground on him at the end. I thought he ran pretty well last time.
Home base, the 5 is stepping up in class. He's 30-1 on the morning line. He scored last time out at Churchill Downs when he got a pretty decent trip going 7/8. He was up close to a moderate pace and gutted it out. This is his distance, however. He prefers 7 furlongs, and he's tactical. It's just whether he's good enough.
Yeah, that was my question. I just didn't think that he was necessarily good enough to beat this field. But there are, other things to like about him. Not only the fact that he's consistent and that he likes this distance, but he's got really good tactical speed.
You mentioned Bango out-finishing long-range Toddy last time out, and the Aristides going 3/4 of a mile. This is a true horse for course. He loves Churchill Downs. 5 of his 6 victories have come here. And really, I think the point you made is key. Are they going to fall in love with the style that worked for him last time out and take him off the pace, and maybe that'll hurt him this time? Or will they at least be closer? Because, as you mentioned, he can be very effective close to the pace.
Yeah, he's got really good tactical speed, and I would think that if this pace doesn't develop, that they're going to go forward with this horse. Maybe not right on the lead, but I think he's got to be up close. He ran pretty well to win last time from out of it. I'm not sure why he was so far back. But he managed to grind it out. He came wide to the stretch. He was on his wrong lead the entire way, but he was able to fight past to the leaders in the stretch and prevail at the end. I thought he ran well last time, Dan. I think he's a major player in here. I just don't love him.
Really interesting new face into the stakes ranks is up next. That's the number 7, Aloha West. He's only run 4 lifetime races, but boy, he's earned figs in his last 2. Let's go back to the race 2 back at Keeneland, going 6.5 furlongs, and he's far behind turning into the stretch, and he's going to angle out, and he's going to come with a good run in here, Mike, in behind horses you see right now, gets to the outside, comes with a kick, and he backed this race up with a nice trip victory going 7/8 at Churchill.
Yeah, he runs well in this race. He's going to only start gaining ground right at the very end, Dan. I mean, he's obviously racing on very gamely from the top of the stretch, but it's at the end when he's really starting to gain, and he just comes up short. He ran well in there. His next start was, a really impressive win. It was visually impressive. I don't know what he was beating, probably not that much. But when you go back and watch that race, it sort of makes you feel like there's some real talent somewhere in there with this horse.
Relentless Dancer is a Michael Maker reclaim. This horse was a multiple stakes winner earlier in his career. Maker dropped him in for 32, 2 starts back, probably to get the confidence boost. The horse won, he was taken. Maker immediately jumped back in and took this horse for 62.5. Maybe that's saying something.
Yeah, maybe it is. It's interesting, too, because when Maker had him, they just ran him in like any stakes race they could find, no matter what the track was. Even tried a couple of stakes races on the grass with this horse. Then they just dumped him in for 32 and lost him, and all of a sudden decided they wanted him back. I don't know. He's run some good races, Dan. I won't be shocked when he wins. I just wanted other horses in here.
Morning line favorite, 7-5 on the 9, Art Collector. Very, very impressive last year. Sort of a late bloomer onto the Triple Crown scene. He won the Bluegrass. He won the Ellis Park Derby. He was withdrawn, I think, the week of the Derby with an illness. And then I just wonder if the Preakness and Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, end of a long season, just needed a break. He got a break. Looks like he's training quickly for this spot. And on paper, he's the best horse.
Yeah, on paper, he's the best horse. And it feels like they're probably coming back at the right distance for him from a nice outside post, too. There are a lot of things that he caught some breaks with as he comes back off the long layoff. Again, as I said in the open, I feel like he's probably got to be, close to 100. I don't know if he has to be 100%, Dan. He's got to be pretty close to it, I think, to beat this field. I don't know. I just liked this horse last year. Again, I was a little surprised he stretched out effectively. I really liked him around 1 turn in those shorter races. I think they found a pretty good spot for him here. And his trainer, actually, if you look him up in Formulator, he has good numbers off of layoffs like this in dirt sprints.
He is a very underrated trainer, is Thomas Drury. Let's take a look at our top picks for the Kelly's Landing. You're going with Art Collector. He's way the horse to beat. I don't really have anything nasty to say about Art Collector. Maybe I'm just grasping at straws with Mucho, who's been a disappointment. But I just remember that race at Pimlico, and it just didn't seem like anyone was running at the back of the pack. And I know this horse can be a little closer to the pace. I think he was compromised a bit by being pinched back coming out of the gate. He's going to need some help. But boy, the price got to be right with Mucho. He's 15-1 on the morning line. 9764 for Mike, 1792 for me. It's the Kelly's Landing, the feature race at Churchill Downs on Friday. Good luck.